Are we there? Oh, yeah, it says it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight. I'm kind of learning this because this is my first time with a guest using StreamYard. So, you guys are learning this right along with me tonight. So, first of all, I want to welcome Kelly69B. Her channel is in the description below. So, please like and follow her channel too, as well. She's got a lot of amazing content on there. So, please like and we don't need to hear double of me, that's for sure. Forgot to turn me down. Um, I want to do just um, a little bit of a disclaimer. There may be some trigger warnings in the show. We felt, both of us felt, that this was very important. We both have dealt with domestic violence and have been in abusive relationships, and so this is kind of, as well as we want people that are going through it to know that there's support out there, but we also want the young people today to realize what they need to be looking for. And if you have young daughters or nieces or grandchildren, especially, and I'm not saying it doesn't help to happen to males too, it does, they need to be aware so that they're not going down this path, because it's pain that they don't need to deal with. So, because Kelly's in my house, I will let her go first and certainly tell her story. And just so you know, we talked for 2 hours on the phone and we didn't utter one word because we wanted it to feel like you guys were coming in. We were sitting
And
on
it's
the couch telling our
fresh.
stories, and we are hearing each other's story for the first time.
Right. We wanted it to
So,
be fresh.
yes. So I'm going to let Kelly go first, and hopefully we don't do like we did yesterday and talk over each other.
Oh, yeah. Well,
We had a good time talking to each other yesterday.
in my early 20s, I got with a man, and he was an alcoholic, and I thought I could fix him. I thought if I loved him enough, if I gave him enough, if I did for him enough, he'd change for me. But I didn't have a lot of love at home, so I was always looking for love and didn't know the right kind of love because of that abuse from parents and my family. And so I didn't know. I knew I wanted to be loved, and I just I had a bad picker. So I ended up with Tracy. May as well say his name because I'll let it slip if I try to change it. And he beat me. He'd get drunk, hit on me, tear up the house, break stuff. He hit me when I was pregnant. He hit me when I was holding my baby. And I left him. Went to my parents. They actually let me come home because I had a baby. And we were back speaking at this time. And I ended up having to get a restraining order against him because he started calling my job. I was a home health nurse at this time. I was a registered nurse. And he was calling my job, telling him I was on drugs. And I did not smoke pot during this time. Nothing. And he was doing everything he could. He was calling the police at night to do well baby checks. He was calling CPS. DFACS is what we call them in Georgia, Department of Family and Children Services, to come check I was an unfit mother and causing just all kinds of turmoil in my life. I had to get a restraining order against him. And it was the most peaceful, quiet time that I ever had in my life since I had gotten with him. And so about maybe a year later, my parents, you know how parents, they was ready for me to go, and so I got me a mobile home in Villa Rica, and it was $350 a month. Don't you wish you could find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home now for $350? Well, me and him ended up started talking again, and it was the same thing. It was the same thing, and we ended up breaking up, and I ended up with somebody else. He got strung out on crack, so he didn't want nobody. He didn't want nothing to do with his son. After he left my 3-bedroom house that I had gotten, he got strung out on crack, and he dropped our son. He was a good daddy. Now I'm gonna tell y'all, he did hit me when I was holding Tyler once. He did. And he actually regretted that. He never apologized for nothing he did to me, you know. And he uh, he got strung out on drugs, and he dropped Tyler like a hot potato, and never was a father to him again. Then I ended up with my youngest son's father, Anthony, who is a very institutionalized individual, and he had just gotten out of prison. When we got out of high school, he went straight to prison. He did 5 years in between 17 and 22, 23, right there, his age. So we had kind of dated as teenagers, and we ended up back together. Well, he had a drug problem, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even recognize it. And he ended up he was mean. He'd get high and hit on me and stuff, and just mean, very narcissistic. And later on, we've been together off and on. So I got a real bad picker, and up until recently, didn't even realize I was worthy of having something better. Now I feel too old to ever have it. But Anthony did the same stuff to me. And then after technology got better, Anthony, he was one of those that very narcissistic. He would accuse me of all these people. You know how you get those messages from foreigners? You know the ones I'm talking about. He accused me of that, but at the same time, he was having an affair with a friend. It was very narcissistic, gaslighting, emotional abuse, physical at times. And then through some of this time, I can't even remember who I was with at certain times in my life, because I kind of bounced back and forth between Anthony and John once or twice. I never got back with Tracy. But I, I don't know, if I guess I just wanted to be loved. I needed to be loved, thought I could fix them and they'd come back and do good, you know? And but John was very abusive. He was paranoid schizophrenic, and he did drugs, and it made him bad. And he's one that he hit me in the head with a full 40-ounce beer bottle. And I couldn't lay my head on a pillow for weeks. Weeks. It stuck out. You could see it. And I've wondered if, and he's hit me in the head with a bat. You know, I didn't even remember that until my son reminded me of that today. And my son remembers it, the abuse that I took. You know, that's a big regret that I ever even had my children in those situations, to see that. But I did. I made some bad choices, and yeah. But being with somebody like that, oh my God, I tell you, John, it's a wonder he didn't kill me. Being hit on like he hit me bad. He's hit me tight. He's took his hand, hit the top of my head like that, and oh dear God, just very, very abusive and mean. And his drug problem ended up, he stole my medication, stole my van to go to the store, run over a little boy and killed him. And he just got out of prison about a year ago, but I've had to block him on social media and everything, every which way but loose, because I do not want him. He will come here. He will come here. I've dropped him off in Alabama, and he's beat me back home in Georgia. That has happened. He is a stalker. There's no getting rid of him. And I blocked everything, even all his family. And I love many, many people in his family, but I had to, for safety
You had to
reasons.
protect yourself.
Yeah, because he'll come hurt me, because I won't be with him. He will. So that's really it in a nutshell. I can sit here and
I
tell you
know,
about different events and all, but y'all, it's all abuse, you know.
I know some of this for some people is brings anxiety, and I'm not trying to do that. And we're
No,
not trying to do that. at all, but I feel like it's a topic that very much gets shut down. And we are,
Very.
if we can prevent one young lady or one boy from having to go through this, it is worth everything. If they
Exactly.
can see the warning signs before it happens, and you may be looking at these two old, wonderful, mature ladies on the screen thinking, it'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
I'll never allow it to happen to me.
Right.
And that's the biggest lie you can tell yourself. Because if
Exactly.
you're with the person that you cannot change, they will do that to you.
Yeah. You can't change anybody. You
You can't. I don't
cannot.
care
Then
how
they're
much you
not going to
try. You're
change
not
for you.
you're not going to change them.
No. No.
So, that's why to me some of these topics on my channel, they're hard to talk about, but they're so important. We can have a lot of fun, but we have to shine light on stuff like this. And if we've gone through it and we can prevent somebody from going through it, it's worth every bit. I mean, that story that she just told tears me up because I've been there. I've walked those same shoes. I haven't gone through the same thing she went through, but I've been there. Um, Now, see, Josh, who's a mod on here, Joshua Jones, is my second husband, but he's not my first. And I met my ex-husband, and I will not name him, um, through Josh. And Josh and I were friends. He was up in Ohio. I was in Florida. Josh and I met on the computer, and then we tried the dating thing, long distance. It didn't work, and then we got. He met this gentleman, and then him and I started talking, and things progressed. Well, he came down to Florida. My parents were not thrilled with him when he stepped off the bus. And I can totally understand why now. But at the time I thought, oh, he's a charmer and he was cute and he was this or that. Well, we were trying to get him settled down here, and which didn't work. And I was really angry with mainly my dad and my parents. And I just was in that angry stage of my life and said, I was in my early 20s. I'm going to leave. I'm done. I've had it. Packed up my bags and got on a bus and went back to his place where his parents and him were living and stayed with them. And he was a charmer. He didn't do anything to me until much later on, until I was with him for a little bit. And I found out through that time that I was pregnant. And when, that happened, Josh and I were still friends. And he was actually the very first person that I said, I think that I'm pregnant. And he said, well, before you tell him, you've got a page that for people that are not in this generation, we did have pagers at one point in time. And I paged him a number that was between us because we were very good friends, Josh and I, at that point. And he said, if you are, please message me then, a certain number. And I did right before I told him. And he said, well, you're just going to have to get rid of the baby. And I was like, I will leave with the clothes on my back, but that's not happening. And just about the time that happened, the phone rang and it was Josh. And he said, he talked to, my ex-husband and said to him, your mother could have done it. My mother could have done it. Didn't you harm one hair on her or that baby? You're going to need to deal with me. And so he got off the phone. He said, fine, you can keep the baby. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to leave one way or another. And I stayed with him and then started the mental. I had a lot of mental and verbal abuse. I started getting in some of the physical, but I had a lot of mental that happened way before anything else happened. And he himself had a very difficult upbringing, and was told, his father told him, don't go to counseling, don't go to therapy because it's bad. And so there was a reason behind that because, and I'm not going to go into all that, but there was a reason why he didn't want him to go to therapy. So he had a lot of stuff that was not dealt with. And I was the wrath of it, unfortunately.
Right.
And there was a lot of, verbal abuse. He got really angry one time because he couldn't get a pair of pants his pants were too tight and he punched a hole in the wall. He would call me a lot of names. He punched a picture and glass was breaking around me. He didn't want to work. So I was pregnant trying to work. And then the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy, I was on bed rest because I had high blood pressure. And then our daughter was born. I thought, well, if I marry him, it's all going to get better. Well, that didn't work either. Something should have registered to me that nobody was standing while I walked down the aisle on either side. It should have said I needed to walk the other direction. And you know, the crux of it was I had this 2-week-old precious child, and I had come down the stairs and I was saying something, and he had a weapon, and he just said to me, he said, I could end your life. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't like the look in his eyes. I didn't like anything. And I quietly went upstairs. My mom and dad had traveled in and was with me for 2 weeks trying to help me get settled as a new mom. And I just went upstairs and my mother said, Mary, you look as white as a sheet. And I told him what he said. And I said, you've got to get me out of here because I was scared to death. I'm holding a 2-week-old infant. And that next day they were supposed to go out on a flight out of leave. And we packed as much stuff in the car. We didn't tell him that we were leaving. He's actually stayed asleep as we were getting as much stuff out of the house as we could. And we put it in the car, and I called him from a restaurant and I said, I'm not coming back home. We've got to get help. You need help, and this can't go like this. We have our daughter. We can't do this.
Right.
And we met. He did come and meet before I left, and my parents didn't take a plane as they originally were going to, and they just traveled home with me and the baby. And then started, okay, well, I can go back. I want to go back. I want to keep trying. I want to keep doing this. I can fix him.
Yeah.
This isn't as bad, and we'll work
If
on
I
this and
just love
everything will
them
be
enough,
fine.
they'll change. If I just
And,
love them enough, if I show them I love them, they'll change. I know that was my mentality.
and I went back 3 times. And one of the last times I went back, he got upset, and I was holding our daughter, and he just said, I'm going to hit her. And I thought, I can't do this. I so wanted my marriage to work. I didn't want it to fall apart.
Right.
But when he would call on the phone, he would call and he would, call me every name in the book. I mean, I was dragged down so far and so low.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And then he would call and say exactly that I would stay awake. And because he would tell me, I'm going to come down. This is what I'm going to do to you and your family. And I'm going to take our daughter and I'm gone. So we didn't even allow her to be alone for anything. She was a baby, of course.
Right.
But you have these nightmares that you're going to have this happen.
Yeah.
And when she was 2 years old, Josh was again a part of her life. And, he had told Josh at that point, it was Mary's fault. Mary did everything. I did nothing. I was totally innocent. I was perfect in the whole thing. And he just said to him, if you don't take if you don't take responsibility for your child, they're going to put you in prison for child support for
Right.
lack of it. And he said, the best thing you can do is just end your rights. And he did that, which was very hard for me, even though I knew it was best to protect her. It was also very hard for me for him to end that, but it was the best thing that could have happened. And
Right.
my parents stepped in when I needed them the most, and I am so grateful. And a lot of people don't have that.
No, they don't.
And my
No.
dad stepped in and he said, I'll take the rights over. So he took the father's side of the rights and he stepped in to be her father. And I remarried, of course, Josh in 2007. And I remember having an argument, and I literally got in Josh's face about this close. And he just turned himself away and he walked out. And he said, I had to go cool down. And he said, why did you do that to me? And I said, I wanted to see if you were going to raise a hand at me. Because if you were, there's the door, because I wasn't going to go through it again. And
Yeah.
he didn't. And he never has. And I am so grateful. It's
Yeah.
almost 17 years later. And now, and to come full circle, my dad always wished that if the opportunity ever came up, that Christina, would have the ability to be adopted by Josh. And that is happening in April.
Yeah.
Um, so, and she's an adult now, but that is something that is so special to all of us. And I know something my dad would have loved and would have honored and would have meant a lot. But my thing was, I still went back in a situation that was far from healthy and dangerous. And I didn't see it because
Yeah.
I wanted for this to work. I wanted, he's sorry, he's sorry. And then he does it again, and he does it again, and he does it again. Now, one thing that
Right.
Kelly B and I talked about yesterday was the fact that I was very cautious that I did not badmouth my ex-husband to my daughter. It was not easy by any stretch of the means.
Right.
I told her the truth, age appropriate, but I also felt as if my daughter was part of him. So
Yeah.
if I started dropping names, if I did it, it was in the confines of a car by myself. But if I did it, then I was doing her the daughter of, and I didn't want that because I knew all of this stuff was just a lot of anger and hurt and pain from everything that went on. And I didn't need to put that on her.
Right. I agree. I agree. My kids didn't know anything until they were just, you couldn't hide it. They were just older. Will was holding the bat that John grabbed from him. He was trying to protect me. And John grabbed the bat and hit me with it. I I didn't even remember that till today. And I wonder because he's hit me in the head several times, and this man in his 30s and early 40s was very, very built and strong and athletic, like, and he hit on me a lot. And I've wondered if I haven't had a brain injury from it because I'm starting to have trouble with my memory. Of course, I'm 54 now, but I have trouble. It's like I have trouble getting the words from here out of my mouth sometimes. I can be thinking them, but I can't get them out. And I told the doctor that Monday, and he said, "Well, we're going to take care of you here at Carillion Clinic." So I'm looking forward to getting all that, to find out. But yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. I find that I remember more of the mental and the emotional abuse than I do the physical. I can remember what it was like walking out for work, being a home health nurse at that time, and Tracy telling me, "I hope you're hit by a truck and killed today." Y- You know, I can remember, and all day I can remember how I felt. But him hitting me, I only remember a few times, but I know it happened a lot. Dumping a full trash can over my head and just abuse, pure abuse. And I don't want to
It
see anybody go through that. My son, he strives to not be the man that he was raised with. I'm so proud of Will. He's he won't ever hit Ruby. He won't. They argue, but he'll go outside. He will not. And he says, I will not treat her the way I watch my mama get treated.
well,
He's
that's
a
the way
good
Josh
man.
is.
Yeah.
He just won't do it. He said
Uh-huh.
there's nothing that will make me lay a hand on anybody. And to all those, and I think that the percentage of, I'm not saying men don't get abused, but I think that the percentage falls heavily on a woman.
It
And
does.
the
It
minute
does.
that you are hit by anybody that you are in a relationship with, you need to turn around and leave. And
Exactly.
it's
First
really
time.
hard.
The first time.
You
Get
know,
because it ain't gonna stop. It's gonna
I
happen
had
again.
my dad was and my mom had a wonderful marriage. It was, Christ was in the center, but my dad had an anxiety problem and he had an anger problem. And I thought, you know what? My mom can deal with this, so can I. But this was far past what my mom had to deal with. She had a man that was hardworking, not one that would rather play video games while the person pregnant out there was working. The one that would call every name in the book and treat them and you know, having that domestic violence and being a woman is real. It is because you're
Mhm.
in a different headset. People are like, well, you should just be able to leave. No, you don't necessarily can get that
No,
because
because
you're
they'll follow
thinking,
you.
I can fix it. They're going to do this. They're going to be okay. If I just did this better, if I just did that better. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I put the abuse hotline number below.
Yeah.
If you have to leave with just the clothes on your back, everything that you own is replaceable. Your life is not
Right.
replaceable.
Exactly.
And it is just as important for the people around us to know what domestic violence looks like, what the signs look like, so that if we think for a moment we have a friend that is
Mhm.
experiencing that we can we can go ahead and maybe come beside them and say, are you okay? Or get the resources that they may need to leave safely. Because if you're afraid they're going to follow you, like Kelly did, or they're going to hurt you or they're going to harm you, you don't necessarily are able to walk out the door. And they're very much like trying to disconnect you from every possible connection
Oh yes.
possible.
Alienate you from your family and friends. Yes, I've had that happen. John alienated me from people. Very jealous of my friends. Even Anthony got that way at times. But they'll alienate you from your family.
Well, you had a situation happen because we're big, huge members of the lifeboat. We love the lifeboat. I will drop
Yeah.
a link down there for them. But she had a situation recently where she had something happen, and there's a Discord service that the lifeboat has for people that are in the lifeboat, and she couldn't reach out and get help, but she was able to reach
uh,
out there and get help through the Discord server.
I sure
And
did.
somebody was able to come beside her and get help to her. And that is that is really important that you have that connection somehow, some way, if you're in a position where you can reach out for help. Because you know if they're drinking, if they're abusing drugs, they can't be trusted. That
No.
was one. Josh and I have had,
Mm-mm.
this is our second marriage for both of us, and we both said, you cheat, you use drugs, you use alcohol, and I may be out the door. Those three are where we're going to bring up that D word. Other than that, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So if they're using alcohol, if they're using drugs, then when they're under the influence, they're oftentimes a whole different person than what
Yeah.
they are under the influence or when they're sober.
Yeah. I've seen John get high and then turn on me thinking I was out to get him. And, and I never used drugs like that. I never did. Um, when I was selling pills is when I started taking my pills. I didn't have to do that until, in 20 teens. But all all this abuse and all this really took care of it. Took care to happened up to 2016, off and on in different times. But I tell you, I by myself, and it take an awful lot to be with somebody else after what I've been through, and I mean
Well,
that with everything in me.
well, you would know now that if somebody
Yeah,
raised a hand at you, you're gone within
yeah. It's
moments.
just like
You're
when
not going to put up with it.
just like I know when my roommate came in high, I knew off the bat he was high. I knew you can't get that by me no more. No, no, I was
Mhm.
taken to school on that. I
I
know.
don't know if he was under the influence. I can say that I have, many, many years later, I
Yeah,
did speak with my ex-husband. I have forgiven him, which was people need to understand the purpose of forgiveness. It is not to say, I forgive you, now I forget. There are things that I will never forget. There are things that I only have shared with my daughter because I wanted her to know the hard facts, and they're not going out to the world. They're just between us. She
right.
knows the truth. But she looks at Josh as her dad. That is her dad. And
That's
my dad
good.
was another influence for her, and kind of like a second dad for her. Um, but the I don't even know where I was going. I lost my train of thought for a minute.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
I'm gonna get it in a
I do it
minute.
all the time when I'm on the phone. I've done it every time I've been on a live. I, I don't know. And you're not even as old as me.
um, I don't even know where I was going with it. I'll get it back in a minute. But I think that we need to realize that, you know, forgiveness. I see, I told you I'd get it back.
There you go.
Forgiveness is not, we're giving it over to somebody to say, we're going to forget everything. There are things I'll
Right.
never forget, but I have forgiven him many years ago.
Yeah.
I'm with the person, Josh and I always, joke and say we should just marry each other from the start because we were destined for that.
Right.
And I married my best friend, and so I have forgiven him a long time ago. And I did talk to him, at a point, and many, probably a couple of years ago, and he kind of said, "Well, I'm sorry for everything I did." Well, no, I mean, I said, "Okay, well, let's get you to acknowledge," which was very difficult, even 50 minutes into it. Um, so forgiving is a huge thing. We need to remember the power becomes to us. But I remember when, you know, my daughter decided she wanted to try to have contact. She has closed the doors now. She's done. But I remember hearing his voice for the first time after 20 years, and my hands were just shaking.
I understand that.
We have to remember the trauma that happens um, after something like that. Just the sound of somebody's voice or a picture flashing up, how it can actually bring back really difficult memories for somebody that has been through abuse. And if you have a teenage daughter, you need to put them in front of people like us to say,
Yes.
you need to look what you're looking for.
I'd be happy to talk to somebody on the phone. I don't want nobody to go through what I went through. And my children, that's what, to hell with me, it's my children, what they saw. You know, my children. Today when Will told me, he said when I said about that, he brought up the baseball bat. Y'all, I ain't thought of that in years, years. I promise you, I ain't. And but when he said it, I remembered it, but it bothered me so bad that he's the one that remembered it. You know, but I'm thankful that he learned he don't hurt Ruby, he don't, and
Well,
ain't
that's a
never.
blessing.
So I'm glad he learned that, and he strives to not be like his daddy and the other men, two men I was with.
I
He
mean,
does everything to not be them.
I mean
My
those tears, just so you know, Kelly, some of them are certainly, of sadness, but some of them are
yeah.
joy to think that
Oh yeah,
he
yeah. And
he's not
y'all,
doing
I'm
this
be
thing.
honest, I can't talk about things that's inside me without crying. It's part of my cleansing and healing. So I'm a big crybaby, and y'all are gonna learn that
Well,
through
we love you. We love you.
because I am. And my oldest son Tyler, I haven't spoke much about him. He's in jail in Georgia. He's been there for over 300 days. And his daddy, he's sober now, and he's married, and he won't even talk to me to get Tyler help because Tyler's got, my oldest son has mental issues, and nobody will help me get him help. Nobody. Yeah, it takes two blood relatives to sign him in the state of Georgia. Nobody will help me. So I don't know what to do. My son's about to end up in Georgia prison. I'm afraid I can't. Well, that's going off. I won't go. I
Believe me,
won't venture down that road with Tyler tonight. But I'll tell
this
you, my son, if he hadn't have been a witness to the abuse and the drugs that they used, and I was so naive, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all, I was a fool.
yeah.
Will was Will was about a month old before I even knew what crack was, and he had used it the whole time, and even right before I was spitting Will out, he came in high as a kite and left right after to go get high on Fulton Industrial Boulevard in Atlanta, and sold everything I had while I was gone. Now I'd done that several times, but and that's a form of abuse. Now, I mean, all that together is just abuse, just rolled into one ball, and I don't want nobody to go through it again. And if they act funny, they go to the bathroom a lot. They make a lot of excuses to go places or go outside a lot. They're doing something. Well, I promise you that. And if they're doing drugs, they're going to end up hurting you because it's going to
Kelly
happen.
Gamer is asking if he's a danger to himself or someone else. Can he have him sectioned by his doctor?
I can't even find out who is seeing him and who his lawyer is
Okay.
while he's sitting there. I told you Tyler has a mental problem. I put the money on there to email him because he has to initiate the phone call from that end. He run it all out messaging me crazy stuff about the Illuminati. So, you know, I can't get a straight answer out of him, and his daddy just let him go. And I don't know what to do. I would say mischief, man. You're a crier as well. I can't help it. That's just
My
who I am.
husband
I've
said he's a
always
crier
cried
too.
like that.
He was on. He's like, I'm a crier too. But
Yeah,
it's just, I I know that, like, I keep saying these topics are hard, but they're
yeah.
so necessary.
Yes,
And I
they
think that the
are.
people that have a passion or have experience, like I know I have an experience with fibromyalgia and raising a special needs child and dealing with
Mhm.
addicts in my family, and being having trouble with food sometimes, and um, you know dealing with some other things. I love crochet, but I have some stuff and life experience, and if it helps somebody, it's wonderful. I know Kelly has experience with other things, that she can talk about, but this is how we shine light on it, because it's not just the person that's in the situation, it is the family members and the people around that need to know what the signs are.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you. My mine. I'm Gen X. How old are you, Mary?
I'm 29.
Say I'm a lot older than you. I'm a
No,
lot
I'm
older
kidding.
than you.
I'm in my
Oh,
40s. I'm in my
I'm a lot
40s.
older than you. But my parents, they didn't. Their generation didn't discuss this.
Exactly.
It wasn't talked about, and so we didn't learn about it. And last night I was on the phone with my one of my oldest friends in the world, and I was telling her I was going to be on this tonight, and she might even be lurking. And if she is, hey Renee, but she's one of my dearest and oldest friends. But I was telling her how my mother and daddy allowed my brother to abuse me too, physically, and how hurtful it was. And she was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Well, we didn't talk about it because we were told you
Exactly.
don't talk about it. Well,
You
you
just
know
put
what?
everything
We
under the
got to
carpet.
talk about it because it's going to continue and continue and continue. And people are going to end up hurt and dead because they don't know how to look for the signs. I mean, look at all the women that are turning up dead from their boyfriends and and husbands and you
I'm
know
gonna say I'm gonna say this, and I'm not saying it to be light, and I can't say 100% that it would have happened, but I think if I had stayed in that situation, I may not be here, nor may my
right.
daughter be here,
I think
um,
John would have killed me.
because it was he could be very unpredictable. I mean, if you're going to look at
Yeah,
your wife and your 2-week-old daughter and, threaten their existence, what are you willing to do?
exactly.
And that was like my huge wake up call. And I remember going to my pastor because Kelly and I, we know what we believe.
Yeah,
And, I remember going to my pastor, and I was raised to believe you don't get a divorce. And he just looked at me going, and that was after meeting this gentleman. He goes, "What do you think you are doing?" And giving me permission, even though it is not in the Bible, to talk about abuse and all this kind of stuff. But he said, "Do you have legal grounds? You've been abandoned, and you have, I knew I had legal grounds, but more, meant or spiritual grounds for divorce, which was a huge, um, it was a huge, it was a huge weight off my shoulders to know that."
right. I know it was because my mom and daddy were raised that way too. You don't divorce. Of course, they didn't ever fight much. They fought when I was a baby, and I actually remember like a flicker of an argument when I was real small. And my daddy hit my mama one time, and she left him and went to my grandparents in Summerville, Georgia. And she told that because there's a whole bunch of pictures of me there as a baby. And I asked her why. Did I go stay with him or something? And that's when she told me. And but my Papa Joe went and had a talk with my daddy in the music store, and he never laid his hands on her again. Um, but my Papa Joe always treated my daddy with. I never would have thought about that if I didn't know about it. Um, but I didn't grow up in an abusive home with my parents abusing each other. They took it on me,
Yeah.
and I'm
Well,
just now recognizing and learning all that. You know.
and that makes a good point, Kelly, because if you are in a position where standing up to somebody is going to put you in harm's way,
Mm-hmm.
this is not for you to do. I left quietly. I left very quietly, and as far as I'm concerned, they kept sleeping as we were loading stuff out in the morning, and I left
Right.
quietly, and I called him from a safe place, and I said, "I'm not coming home." Now, I went back 3 times, but I also was surrounded by people every time I went back. At one time, when I did go back in April for something and I tried, my dad says, "You're not going there by yourself. I'm coming with you."
Yeah.
So, you need you have you if you're in a position where standing up for yourself is going to put you in harm's way, you've there's the number there. You've got to contact a friend. They can find the resources for you so that you can get out safely.
And there's
not.
so many shelters, more so than
Yes,
there was when I had children. You know, we had the phone book. We didn't have the
the
internet
internet.
to find resources. But there's
But
so many more shelters out there, and that'll
but
help you get on your feet. That man ain't gonna change. I promise you that. That woman's not gonna change for that matter. If you're being
yes,
abused by a woman, and that's a real thing. I was I was locked up with women who talked about abusing their spouse, their partners. Um, it's real. It happens. And I ain't gonna
but
lie, I hit Anthony a couple of times. I did. I did.
if they're under the influence of drugs and alcohol, the ability to be able to change until they deal with the drugs and alcohol is
Right.
impossible.
And it
There
is.
there have been men and as well as women that have gotten drugs and alcohol taken care. They've dealt with that, and then they're able to get some counseling and therapy and go back into a relationship and have it be stable and safe. But if you're having somebody that's under the influence, you can't think for a moment that you're going to do anything to change them. I don't know if this gentleman that I was married to was under the influence at any time with anything. I don't
Right.
know. I didn't see him. Um, but still, if and yeah, we have all the technology on our phone, but if you have a family member who has had their phone taken away, that's
Yeah.
why you've got to start knowing the signs and symptoms of what
Yeah.
abuse
If
looks
they're
like.
going through your phone, if they go through your purse, if they question you, if they
If they track
if,
you,
yes, if they
I mean,
track
all they have to
you,
do is
if
put one of
they
those Apple tags on
that
anything you
is
do, and they're
abuse.
tracking you.
That is when they call you and ask you. I mean, it's you'd know outside of the ordinary. It's somebody calling you all the time, wanting to know every step you make, everybody you talk to, everybody you smile to. And if they get mad, if another man looks at you and smiles or opens the door for you, if they get mad, that's a big sign. Big sign. It might make you
Yeah.
feel good. Somebody's jealous over you. I promise you that that's going to grow and it's
You know,
going to bite you in the ass. I
I
promise
was
you.
in a hospital one time, and I was sitting next to somebody, and I look back at it now, and I said, I had my phone. I should angle my phone in a way that literally they could not see I was recording, because this man was doing
Right.
things. This woman was crying. I think she was maybe having a miscarriage. I'm not sure. And at one point, he took her hair and he pulled it back,
Oh
and
my
he was
God.
talking to her in such disrespect. And I was literally shaking. I was
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, this is bringing back really unpleasant memories for
I
me. And I
understand.
should have angled my phone. Now, she went back to the back, and he went off. He was doing something. And um, he was doing something. And I remember going up to the counter and I said, you've just taken that woman back there. You need to question her and make sure she's safe, because the man she was with was not being good with her.
Right.
Now, I don't know if they separated, whether somebody saw something and they separated them on purpose and got her back there, but we have got to find a way to speak up. Now, I wanted to speak up
Right.
in a way that wasn't going to put her into a position of danger.
Mm.
But I
And I
still,
feel like if you see something, you should speak up. And it's just like abusing children. And there are places that you can report, like adult protective services, child defects. You can call, especially if there's children involved. You can, and not to call an aggravated family, but if you feel like there's an abusive person in that home, it's got to stop. You got to help. Is awareness has got to
exactly.
be brought because
A-
too much is happening nowadays, and it's just too much. It's just too
And
much.
it's not just a relationship between a man and a woman or vice versa.
Uh,
We're also talking about elder abuse. If you see elder abuse
yes.
happening,
Oh, and that's
it's
real.
not
I've
okay.
witnessed it. I witnessed it. One of my first jobs was in a nursing home, and I walked in on a girl beating the hell out of an old lady. And do you know this was 1987? So, all they did was fire. But into this day and age, yeah, you know what would have happened. But that's a long
Well,
time ago. But I
I
told
know
on her.
I know my dad had dementia, and
Yeah,
we were thankfully able to keep him at home and keep an eye on everything,
that's
and know
good.
the aides that were coming in and build relationships with him. But my
That's
husband said if he
awesome.
ever goes in a nursing home, there will be a camera on him at all times.
Exactly.
And the sad thing is that you have people that take their parents and they put them in a nursing home and then they don't go see them. They don't go check on
I
up on them.
know.
I've
They
said to
just
my
sit
daughter,
there.
if anything happened to my mom, I said, we're going to be going in. And she had to go into a nursing home at one point. We are all going in all different times unexpectedly. And I said, we're going to make sure that she is taken care of like you cannot believe. And my husband said, there will be a camera. They're not that expensive, you know.
Yeah, no, they're not. You can get them for $20. You sure can.
So, you know, I don't want to see any girl or any boy going through, if you're a teenager and you think, man alive, this is never going to happen, I'm never going to stand for it. If the first time they are doing something, they're being disrespectful to you,
Yeah.
verbal abuse is just as harmful as physical.
Set
It's
your
just,
boundaries.
you have to
Have
set your boundaries.
boundaries. And if you feel like they're crossing your boundaries, talk with them. If it continues, they're not going to change. Tuck tail and run. If it
You
stops, then progress further. I mean, but always have boundaries and don't let them be crossed, because you'll end up hurt emotionally, physically, and mentally. I'm a I'm a bag of mess from what I've been through, and I am. Just a huge bag of scattered pieces, but it's slowly getting put back together.
But you're
Um,
choosing, like I am, to say we're going to have a voice through our YouTube channels.
exactly. I want to help
Say,
people. I
we're
don't
going to
want
talk about the
nobody to
things that
live
aren't
through
so
what I
pretty.
have.
We're
I
going to
don't want
talk
nobody.
about, being in prison and thing, abuse and drugs and alcohol and fibromyalgia. And yeah, we're going to talk about the crochet over here. Understand the reason I did that was because I wanted people to know, yeah, I'm blessed to do that. That's what's in my toolbox. But I will tell you, connection has become just as equally important to me as the crochet. And Kelly can
Oh,
attest to that.
yeah, oh yes. I'm gonna tell you, I ain't gone live yet or nothing. I ain't done, but what, this is my third little thing. But I'm gonna tell you what, every day I sleep in, but every day I look forward to being with all of our chat family and in the different chats. And everybody means so much to me, because I believe I've truly found my tribe. People who truly love, as she said, I love you, Kristen Melinda. I do. You somebody I just love to see. But I do. It just makes my day to sit there and talk back and forth with everybody on my phone. I got my iPhone here, and I'll have the TV on, and I'll be typing to everybody here. But I love it. I don't know what I'd do if I hadn't discovered YouTube chat. I can't believe I've used YouTube all these years, because I've got the same account that when YouTube started, I think 2000. My first email with Gmail is back when you could have one that wasn't long. But anyway,
Everybody go subscribe to Miss Kristen's channel. She did her first live
I
last
would.
night. It
I'll
was
have to go back
awesome.
and
I caught
watch
it
it.
as I was trying to go to
I'll go
sleep.
back and watch it. I didn't
But
realize.
subscribe to her.
But
I'm gonna drop Kelly B's in here so y'all could go to her too as well, and check her channel out.
I'll tell you too about recognizing abuse. If they constantly gaslight you, and if I'm using words you don't know, Google it, because They can tell you better than I can. But gaslighting's when it turns it around on you and tries to make you feel like you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
And Anthony's a number one in that. I don't know if it's a talent he learned in prison or what, but yeah, number one, that's a big kicker before the big
They
abuse
want it to be your
set
fault.
in. Yeah, it's your fault, and then eventually down the road, usually narcissistic people, in my experience, turn into abusive people.
Well,
Now I
that's what Josh said. He said, I started putting up I started watching him because they were still friends after things had all gone south with us. And
uh
he said, I started watching him and I started watching things. And he goes, he's telling me it's all your fault, but this just isn't adding up. He said,
yeah
him and I would spend hours on the phone. We used to say we have everything in common but the kitchen sink. And then we outgrew the kitchen sink. And I mean, we really knew each other really well. And he said, I know this girl's heart. And he said, this is just not adding up right. He said, something's not making sense. And he said, I started putting this together going, there's something not right. And he said, I eventually realized he's the one that's lying. He's the one that's not being
right
truthful. Now, listen, I had my own hand in it. I'm not going to sit here and say I was perfectly innocent by any stretch
right.
of the
I
means.
wasn't either. I did some dirt,
but
honey.
it,
I'll
but at
tell
the
you
same
a story.
time, I did not deserve to be called every name in the book.
No, no, you sure don't. And I'm sure he pushed you to do what you did, didn't he? You would never have done anything to him, would you? He pushed you to it.
Oh, he got my buttons. He knew exactly which
Yeah,
buttons to push.
exactly. Yeah, Anthony
I
did me
didn't
too.
I didn't
I
deserve, and his response to the way, the threat that he used was that's the way people in his state talked.
oh
And he
yeah.
said that to our pastor, and my pastor just looked at him like, you have got to be kidding me. Not
Just an
taking
excuse.
responsibility for what he did.
Right, just an excuse. Just an excuse to get away with being cruel to somebody.
And it took me years. And I remember just, especially when I knew it was the right thing, that my daughter was not going to have to be in Florida and have to go back and forth between two people. I knew it was the best thing to do, but at
Right.
the same time, it was really hard that he wanted to walk away totally out of her life. Now, it was truly the best
Yeah.
thing that ever happened. And she said to me, which served me very well many years later, she said, Mom, she said, and she even told him when they talked, my mother never talked disrespectful or mean about you in any way, shape,
Yeah.
or form. She told me the truth. She told me what she did wrong and what happened, but she was never cruel in how she talked about you, which is not easy when you've had somebody treat you
Right.
terribly.
Yeah.
But it was a choice that I had to make. I was the grown up and I had to make it because I knew that my daughter did not deserve to have that. So if you are co-parenting with somebody, and this is just, even they're a great person and you're co-parenting and things don't work out, and they're not abusive in any way, shape, or form, you do not you have to make that choice to say, I'm not going to talk badly about their mother or their father to them, because those children do not deserve that.
No, because they're half of you and half of them. I,
And you know what? On top of it, if you are a dad, listen up, dads.
she's
Your
Mimi's
girls,
right there.
you girls, your little girls, they are looking up to you. The first the first man that a girl falls in love with is her dad. You need to be
Yeah.
treating those girls like they are princesses. Not that they don't need to be appropriately when they're doing something wrong, but they are looking up to you. They're looking to see how you treat them is exactly how they're going to be looking to be treated by a man.
Yeah. And I can say my daddy was never mean to me. And he wasn't. He just, my mother was so mean that he loved her so much he followed her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
He
mean,
was,
my
yeah.
dad was good, but he had a lot of anxiety and he would get angry very easily. So I just was like, well, being angry is part of how, and so that's how he would treat me. And
Right.
that was reflected on that.
Right.
What people need to realize is I didn't have somebody that came in and just all of a sudden started hitting me. It started growing one thing after another, after another, after another, and it was like I can push this envelope and then I can push this envelope and I can push this. And it just before you knew it, you were like, you know, how did I allow it to get that far? Before I'm
Right.
realizing warning signs going off in my head, and how could I still go back 3 times into what should have been not the best environment for me or my daughter. Thankfully,
Exactly.
she was little enough not to realize what was going on.
Right. Exactly. And I really, really should have. And I had reasons for being with him. After I had my car wreck, and after I had Will, I started hurting really bad. My arthritis, and I got a lot of arthritis issues and stuff. And I got a little sedentary and I started gaining weight. And I was already big now. I've always been big, but I gained up to about 600 pounds and I couldn't walk good or nothing. I was even on oxygen at one time and all. But still, I just thought they loved me, they're using the hell out of me. But I was just wanting to be loved so bad. I've thought about it in my early late 20s. I actually thought about joining a cult because I wanted to be a part of a family. Now that I could
You're a
very well
part of a
be
family
a
now.
Scientologist today. Oh my God, can you imagine? What if
Oh, we're
I'd
so
done
glad you
that?
didn't.
Holy hell. Oh my God.
Christine brought up a great point. She says, like a frog in a pot of warm water, it heats. If the if the heat gets too up really slow, turn the heat up really slow. You don't notice it until it's boiling, and you're in trouble.
She's so
Absolutely.
right, and it's true, and you just and it just happens here, and it just grows, and you just think, oh, it's me, that was me because I was raised that way, that everything was my fault. If I just fix myself, if I just do this, if I just cook this right, if I just have the house nice and clean, and eat off my floor, they'll love me more and change, respect me more. No.
And love should not hurt physically or
No,
emotionally.
it should not. Love
If
does not hurt.
no, it doesn't.
Uh-uh. It does
And
not.
if you're noticing a trend in the fact that you're getting into relationships where you're saying, wait a minute, I'm going into a relationship and this guy was doing this and well, this guy is doing this, then my suggestion is you need to say, I'm not going to be dating anybody, and you need to find some therapy and
Yeah.
process what you're going through because you're finding something in each one that's repeating itself and it's not a good repeat.
Yes. Yes, you will. And you won't even realize it that you're seeking the same thing. You don't even realize it. It's
Yep.
a scary, scary thing. And that's why I have been, Anthony and I separated the last time in 2016. And I've been single since. But now I did a year in the county jail. I did time in jail again, and then I went to prison. So I was locked up, but now I wasn't gay for the stay. I was not. They thought, I found out like after about 5 months of being there that they all thought I was gay because I had my hair cut short. I think that's so funny. I do. But anyway, um, but I'm by myself and have been for that long, and it don't bother me. I've made a profile on Facebook and that pool of fish, but I don't even look at it.
Yep.
I'm happy in my little room with my
The,
friends that live on YouTube. And I'm just that happy to do
There
that.
was a story about a woman that literally put a pair of pants and hung them. My mom told me the story. Hung them on like a um her closet, put them, closet door, and said someday God's going to help put him fill those pants. And sure enough, he did. And
Yeah.
the man she ended up marrying actually fit those pants to a T. So sometimes,
Hey, she manifested him. That's
and there was
all.
another story she told me, and she said this woman was, I don't have, you know, I don't have, I don't have, somebody and so forth and somebody. And she said, this, her post office guy come and deliver the thing, and they would always start talking to each other. And he said
Right.
eventually, he was single and she was, and they went out and they ended up getting married.
Wow. But I've never been legally married, y'all. I'm an old maid. I have 2 children, but I'm an old maid. I'm a true old maid. So,
Well, we're kind of co-hosting together. Mimi, we're kind of co-hosting. We're doing it together because I felt like this was a really important. It's 2 very different perspectives. She's had a perspective from a lot more physical abuse than I got, but I've had a lot of the mental side of it, and um, and literally, if I had to leave with the clothes on, and I don't know what I would have done
yeah.
if I had not had my parents there.
You're so blessed because, I've already
I think I
told you.
probably would have just packed up as much stuff as I could in a bag and left quietly and started walking. I don't know what I
Right.
would have done. But if you have an opportunity to leave and get help, you may need to leave with the clothes on your back. Everything's
Yeah.
replaceable. Your life is not. I was
I,
fortunate that my parents were there to get me out. But mind you, I'm the girl that went back 3 times. I still didn't learn my lesson. And I've told my daughter I didn't want things to end. But at the same time, I wasn't willing. I got to a point where I'm like, I am also not going back in this until we get some help and until you get some help.
and once you make up your mind to leave and cut that tie, every day gets easier, don't it? Every day.
Yeah. Because I
It
put the
sure
boundary that
does.
I'm not getting back in this till we go get some help.
Right.
And
I look
if you're
back and
not willing, and he was the one that decided he wanted things to end, and that was hard because
right.
again, I felt like I was being defeated, and I did at the time care and love him, but I don't think he had the same love for me. There is no
Right.
way he could have if he could have called me on the phone with every name in the book and threaten, you
Yeah,
know,
that's not
our
love.
that's not love.
That's not
That's
love.
not how
No.
you're going to get me back.
Yeah, I got those phone calls too. Yeah, I got them too. I sure did. I've been called
Mimi,
probably
I
every
totally
name
understand.
you could think of, and hit, kicked, just made to do stuff I didn't want to do. Made John. I'll tell you, John, what he did to me. He went in Walmart and stole a purse from a lady. I was in the car with my children waiting on them to go. It was school night. I was ready to go home. I always took care of my children. I always took care of my children no matter what was going on in my life. And I did. They
My
were my
daughter always
number
came first.
one. They were my number one. They still are. But they're grown, but they were my number one. That's what I'd do anything for my children.
That's what I
Um,
did for my daughter.
yeah. Yeah.
Anything.
And I look back and I made a lot of mistakes. But everything I did at the time was for them. But you live and learn, and we live and learn to help y'all not make the same mistakes as us because we don't want y'all to suffer like us. It's just not. We can help stop it, put an end to it, and help
Well,
people
we have to shine the light
understand it
on
and
it.
recognize it. But John made me go back into Walmart and get this purse. and carry it out because it was a woman's purse. But he made me do it. And he slapped me a few times before I'd go back in. And I knew if I didn't go, something bad was going to happen. So I had to go back in and get this purse. Well, it's a Walmart. So what you know, 2 weeks later, there's the detectives. There was $900 in the purse. It was some payroll for some business. Well, it got me a felony. That'll go to show you they'll get you in trouble too. That's a form
Yeah.
of abuse. I would have never ever have done that
If they're
if
asking
I
you to
hadn't
do
have been
stuff that's,
forced. I was forced. My 2 children was sitting there,
yeah.
and Will was in a car seat. So he's what 2, 3 years old. Probably don't even remember this. Tyler had school the next day. You know, we had to go home, but I remember that, and he slapped me a few times, and I knew I better go, or it's gonna get rough.
And if somebody's asking you to do something that's illegal, you need to run.
That's yeah,
You know,
yes,
you need to run. If they're
because
asking you to do
you'll
something
end up a
because they don't want
felon.
to do it, then
You'll end
that's
up a felon, and trust me, you
no.
don't want to be a felon.
If we're with somebody, we need to be with them and lifting them up. It doesn't mean we're not going to have struggle.
Exactly.
But I remember Josh and I weren't married yet. I think we were engaged. And I remember being in the hospital and I was sick and I looked miserable. And I just looked at him and I said, oh, I guess I really look beautiful. And he just looked at me and he said, you look beautiful to me all the time. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
you know, that was like lifting up, not bringing me
yeah,
down.
exactly. Love lifts up.
It
It
doesn't beat us
does.
down at
That's
all.
right.
So, you know, you can't stand for, you have to set your boundaries respectfully. You have to tell people, this
Yes.
is how I'm going to be treated, and this is how I'm not going to be treated. And, you
Yes.
know, I have fought my entire life to not sit here, and it finally gotten to the point in my some odd 40 years, even though I'm 29 again this June, of, you know, finally saying, you know what, I'm just tired of people wanting to change me. Not that I don't need work. We all need to improve ourselves, but who Mary is, who Kelly is, we both of us said we have just such tender hearts. And the one thing that has come through on the lifeboat for me, I don't know about you, Kelly, but people just keep saying to me, Mary, you have such a sweet and tender heart. You have such a loving heart. You're such a blessing to us.
You
And like,
do.
I'm gonna stop trying to change who I am.
Exactly. And you shouldn't
Why should I
change.
feel
Be
bad about the
you.
way I am? Because people around me are a little overwhelmed sometimes.
Be
Sorry.
you. Just be you. I have to be me because I can't be anything else. If I do, I'll forget. I'll forget what I'm trying to be. And if, I can't lie because I'll forget it. So I have to be me all the time. I'm no different right now talking to you than I would be if you're sitting here in person. Oh, I ain't. I'm sorry I keep moving around, y'all. My legs hurt and I really don't have a desk. Y'all know my living situation, most people here. And it just, I'm having to sit on the bed with my lap desk on a pillow. And, I live in chronic pain, so I'm moving around and I'm sorry. But I'm going to try and
I
get
deal
me
with
a
chronic pain.
desk. I'm going
I
to
had
try
all
and
these
find me a desk and I put my laptop on it or use my iPad on it.
I
So,
I I was sitting there going, I had plans today that just had to go on the back burner because I was really tired all day.
yeah.
Gamer says, I do find it hard to take compliments after years of dealing with put downs.
Yeah.
I brush them
Yeah.
off like, yeah, thanks, I'll try.
Yeah. You don't believe nobody when they tell you look pretty or you look nice. You feel like, yeah, you've been beat down for years by your parents, then men. Yeah.
Well, it too, you know, my husband and my mom and my daughter, they'll
They
tell me
build
I'm an
you up.
awesome person. I'm like, yeah, because you're my husband, my mom, and my daughter. But I think that it's been so helpful to be on the lifeboat and have people give you
Yeah.
compliments and friends because I went through a cycle where it was like nobody wants to be my friend. Nobody wants
Oh,
to get to know who I
we
am.
all love you, Mary. All of us.
and
Everybody
but
loves you.
but having other people come and be your friends and come around and give you stuff, and you're like, well, they're not making this up, has built my self-confidence to realize, yeah, I'm going to start saying I love myself. It does not mean that I'm trying to be conceited, but you have to love yourself. God made you who you were
Yeah.
supposed to be. He didn't make you, he doesn't make junk. He makes nothing but beauty. And he has you here for a reason. He has me, he has Kelly B, he has everybody here for a
Yeah.
reason and a time. And you all have gifts. It's why I kept the name. You're blessed to do something.
That's
And there's
right.
multiple things.
And
I'm
and
thinking,
even if just sharing your story blesses others, because I
amen.
know I watch a lot of YouTube, as y'all know, but I other people's lives help change my life, and I'd love if I helped one person, just one person, not make the mistakes I did. I tell you what, I'd die happy. I would, because it just
It's so funny.
I've lived through hell, my personal hell, and I know there's people out there that's been through worse. I do know that, but I'm just sharing my story.
It's so funny. My
This is
daughter's
my
like
journey.
25 now, and she'll call
Uh
me up
huh.
every once in a while and she'll go, Mom. And
I've got
I
it
go,
in my back
yes. And I know
pocket.
what's going to be out of the mouth. And she goes, why are you always right?
I know. If I'd
It's
only,
like, because I've lived that long so
yeah,
far. I'm
yeah,
trying to prevent you from going in those pitfalls and hitting those rocks. you know
right,
my email is below. If you have a daughter in a situation you know that is not healthy, and they are starting seeing signs of abuse,
yeah,
my email's there.
right.
Kelly B's
And
email is on her
I have
channel.
an email. I finally made an email for my YouTube. I need to check it. I hadn't checked it in a day or two, but email me. I'll be more than happy to talk to them and tell them what it can do to them.
Yeah.
Look, Anthony made me lose my house that I had bought and paid, that I had when before I got with him,
Thank
that I
you, Lord.
bought with my nursing money, and he made me lose it. And we moved to an 80-foot long, no, it was 50-foot long, 8 feet wide mobile home from a house. Oh, mischief meanings, I love you too. But
We love
he
Rhonda's
made me
comment
lose
too.
my house by he smoked the. Said he went to pay the
Thank you, God.
the payment. He smoked it and crack. So you know, I please, I'll help anybody.
Yeah.
Mary didn't have to deal with the drugs and all, but I did. And, marry me or her one to talk, whichever situation is closest to it. I'll talk to your daughter, uh, your son. I'll talk to him. I don't want anybody to hurt like I've hurt.
Well, I haven't dealt with drugs personally, but I've dealt with them in my family.
Yeah,
I will be
but
on
on a
Saturday.
relationship
Yeah.
level, you hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday, I will be on My Other's Keeper,
Uh-huh.
talking about bipolar. My grandmother was undiagnosed bipolar. Or actually, I'm sorry, she will be on my channel. I've been on her channel. She hasn't been on my channel yet. And I'm going to drop the link here. So we're going to have a discussion about bipolar. She suffers from that herself. And I thought it would be a good thing to bring somebody in that deals with it. And having my grandmother who has dealt with it, she's no longer here, but I can, I
Yeah.
thought it would be a really healthy discussion. I will also be on Surviving Together, which is another awesome channel. I will be on her channel on next Wednesday, and I want to say it's at 7 Eastern time, talking about what SA looks like. So I will be on her channel, and I'm dropping that link here for people to go subscribe to that one. And I will be on her channel on next Wednesday. So we got them things happening.
Yeah, I'm glad. I try to make everybody's lives, and if I don't, I do replay, and I try to remember to comment. But I will run everybody's and listen
Yep.
to it. I'm a big supporter of my friends, and I really am. My chat friends, my little chat family, and I do that. I support y'all. And I appreciate y'all's support too, because I'm gonna get my nerve up to go live one day. One day y'all just gonna see me pop up and I'm gonna be sitting there looking at it. So anyway. But
Are
yeah.
you gamer? Are you saying that your channel also deals with fibromyalgia? Because I can look at it. Um, if that's what you're asking me.
I have been diagnosed. I have chronic pain because I've had several car wrecks. But now I've
Oh,
never
to help
been
with pain.
tested for fibromyalgia, but my doctor that I just saw Monday is sending me to a pain managed specialist at Carillion Clinic here in Virginia. And oh man, they're jam up. And I've already told him I don't want narcotics. I'll be tempted to start selling them again. I can't do that because I like money.
Well,
I'm teasing. I'm teasing, but well, I'm being honest. I would be tempted, and that's just just nip it in the bud right there, because I'm not going back to prison for nothing. Um,
I can look at it. I'll see if I can look and find out any information. I know for myself. Um,
I
I
had
know
a
for myself
C-section.
that I deal with it. One of the ways I help battle it is crochet and connection. I can't do any of the fibromyalgia medications because unfortunately I'm allergic to every one of them. Like Kelly can do, which is
Yeah,
amazing, the difference between people and their medications.
yeah,
Like she can handle gabapentin. I
yeah.
can't touch gabapentin with a 10-foot pole because it made me want to. It made me want to unalive myself very quickly. So
Yeah.
it's one of them that is banned from my repertoire at all cost. So there's only one medication that I can do that it keeps my pain on a manageable level. But it's one of the reasons why this is all tied to crochet, because this is this is how I deal with my pain. If I can't get out of bed, I'm crocheting. If I'm going to sit someplace, I'm crocheting.
I work
Kelly and
with
I
my
were talking
hands
about
too.
she wishes she could learn to crochet. I said,
I
pick it
do
up,
want
try
to.
it.
I
you
might
know,
do it.
let's find something else to put in your
Yeah, I do
toolbox to
get
do
my
it and
mind
deal
on
with it.
something else. And
But
I have had a C-section, and when they gave me an epidural for my C-section, gamer, uh, it lowered my child's, or raised it. It either lowered or raised his blood pressure. It had to be stopped because it was going to kill us. But now, for my chronic pain, a couple of years back, before I did all my little jail stints, I did go to the doctor and get um, a block. And I'm gonna tell you what, it worked excellent for me, and I'm hoping to get one soon if it can benefit me. Again, I'm sure he's gonna want to do X-rays and ultrasounds because I can't. My doctor in Georgia has since been put out of the business by the GBI.
yeah, Tammy, I was telling her about diamond pain yesterday. And let
Yes,
me encourage
yes.
Kelly that, believe it or not, what she is doing by doing her channel, what I'm doing with my channel, is a way that we're dealing with our pain.
Cool. So Tammy has a
Connection, we're
channel.
connecting with people. I'm doing it, I'm involved in, raising up. She's trying to do it with her channel too. We are connecting. And it's a very, very powerful tool because it gets you out of the mindset that goes, I'm hurting. Now, I've had a
Yeah.
really kind of tiring day today, and I really was like, all I wanted to do was sleep. And I'm like, no, I have to do this at 7. And I really wanted to do it at 7. Man, even though this was a really difficult subject to have to go through and talk and hear her story, all I want to do is go through the thing and give her a big hug.
No,
I,
I want to hug you
and,
too.
and
I'm
so
gonna hug you one day. Watch.
But I feel better because I feel like if it's a video out there that a mom could put their daughter in front of and say, listen to what these women have gone through. Please don't accept this from anybody.
Real stories, real talk. No hiding
Yes.
nothing. And I could sit here and tell you hours of tales to tell you. You know, I just kind of skimmed over the water like a rock. I can tell you a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Have your daughter watch this if you think so. Your teenage daughter. You know, and I'll tell you something that'd be good to tell your daughter to write down the qualities that they want in a man at an early time in life. Good qualities, of course, because we all start out wanting good qualities in men, don't we? You know, we want our Prince Charming. Tell her to write down everything she wants in that man and don't stop till she finds it.
Well, put what you're willing to never, you have to put one,
Exactly.
two,
Add
three. This is
that
what I am not willing
to accept. Write
to
down
accept.
your boundaries right
I'm not
there.
moving on these. These are my
No,
they're cemented
exactly.
into cement,
And it's
and they're not
perfect to
going
start
in.
them in dating in high school if you allow your daughter to date. That is perfect for them to make a list like that. What they want and what they won't accept and their boundaries right there. Right there. And that'll be ingrained in them through high school into college or their, that life, young adulthood on into it. That's a good way to ingrain it right there. Excellent thought, Mary. That's it.
Well, and the thing is, if they want a blonde hair guy and a really good brown hair guy comes along, I'm not talking about
True.
that,
We're
but
talking about
I will
inner
not be
qualities.
disrespected.
Yeah,
I
we're
will not
talking
be
about
treated any
inner
less than this.
qualities for
And
sure.
fathers, oh boy, do we need to have a talk with some of these young men coming to date our daughters.
Exactly. That'd be a good thing.
You
Well,
know,
yeah, it would. I mean, I ain't got
when
daughters. I
my
got
daughter, when
sons.
my son-in-law came to date my daughter, now mind you, I had a child
Uh-huh.
and I was a grown woman, and he asked my dad if he could date me.
Oh, see, that's
So
respectful.
my daughter expected that out of our son-in-law, and he asked both my husband and I, can I have permission to date your daughter? And we said yes, you may. But he came asking that. That is old-fashioned respect, that you are
Right.
expecting that. And if you are dating somebody and they come to ask that father for the hand in marriage, do yourself a favor, fathers. Start getting to know these young men that are going to marry your daughter. Have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Start mentoring them. Start getting to know their character,
Let them
even
know you got
before
a 12
that
gauge.
even comes into the picture. My dad, when we were just dating, and then when we got engaged, my dad had my husband be involved into a men's Bible study, and they had breakfast. And my husband said that was the most special time where my dad really got to know my husband. Now, when he
I
asked
think that's
permission
awesome.
to date me, my husband said he talked to him for half an hour. But when he asked permission to marry me, it was like, yes. I mean, it was because he knew my husband at that point. And
Yeah.
they would go out to breakfast and they would have Bible studies together and they would get to know each other and they talked. Now my husband did not have a father figure either in his biological father or his stepfather. And he said, I will not repeat the same thing with my stepdaughter. And he didn't. To him, our daughter is our daughter 100% from day one. And it was just amazing to see that happen and unfold. And it's just, so take the time to get to know them, have a relationship with them, get to know their character. And if you start seeing warning signs, you need to express them to your daughter
Yeah.
and say, that's what the parents need to be standing in the gap for.
Right.
I miss Dragon, but
Oh,
he didn't. He said, I'm not repeating the same behavior. He said, I'm just not going to repeat it. But he was just like, I just remember him said, so what did he say? And he goes, yes, because he knew my husband at that point. He
right,
had all that time where he had gotten to know him and he had talked to him. And if you ask my husband, because he didn't have a good father figure or stepfather, he will say his dad was my dad.
right,
He said, if you ask me who your dad was my dad, because I didn't have that. I didn't have a good influence. But your dad stood in the gap. I got to see what a dad was. So
right,
if we've got sons and daughters out there that don't have good parental figures, we need to find a way to get some mentors in their life at a young age, because some
right,
of this is just they're not knowing how to act.
right. There's, and that just goes back to how all these young people are acting today. What's going on in the world? Lord, that's a
So,
whole nother six
oh,
hour video, ain't
she'll be back again. Don't worry. Does anybody have any questions for me or
it?
Kelly?
Yeah.
Like I said, we knew
Yeah.
that this
We
was, we
got
knew, we were
we got
like,
stories for days. I do, Lord. I'm full of stories. I mean, I've led a very full life and a life of struggle, and I just don't want. And I have been taking psychology the past couple of years, and I've run out of financial aid. That's the story in another nutshell. But um, I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about myself, and I feel like I can put what I did learn to use on here. You know,
well,
I
Miss,
want to help people.
yeah.
I feel so full of I
That's
don't know
some,
the feeling. I need to let it out, and
but
I
that's
want to
something you're
help
blessed
people.
to do. You're there to
Yeah,
help.
right. And I want to prevent. I
Mischief,
want to
get some
prevent
rest.
people from suffering. It's my dream to one day buy like an old school and have a section for domestic violence, a homeless shelter section, help people that's getting out of jail get back on their feet, and have a place for addicts. That's my dream. But people that really do it can't never get the money to do it. Who would really do? You know what I mean? Because I'd really do it if I had the
Yeah.
money. But I see all these other people money, and they never do nothing like that.
Well,
But
you know what? If we've got to come beside people, and
yeah,
we've got to help help to straighten each other's crowns and break them tapes, and
right.
you know, um, and thank everyone here. Your guys' support was awesome tonight. I don't know if I've
Yeah, I
had
don't know who
15
all's
to
in
20
here.
people in a chat before.
I don't
So it
I
was
don't know
really
who
awesome to
all's
see
in
all
here,
that
but
connection
it
happening in
just
the
shows
chat.
up. I guess those are super chats. I don't know, but I love all y'all.
No, they're
I
not
love
super chats. I'm
everybody.
not there yet. They're
I
not super
just do.
chats. I'm gonna get there, y'all. I'm
Yeah, you
bound and
will,
determined.
Mary.
I think I'm at 282 last time I checked, and I
Really?
have
I'm
like
not at 100 yet, but boy, I'm
300
proud
watch
to have
hours.
like
So
my 70.
we'll get there. We got to get
Yeah,
Kelly
we
B
will.
up. We got to
I
get
got to get
everybody
Minerva
up.
up to
But
go live, but I don't know why I can't. It's because I'm by myself. I'm okay if I'm with somebody. Y'all gonna go on with me and go live and hold my hand
I
on my
told
hand?
you I would.
Okay, well, we're gonna do that.
I said if
Oh
you
my
need a
God,
girl
we're gonna
right
do that.
there,
I'm
I
gonna
said I'll do
plan it.
this.
Okay, I'm gonna plan it though. I want
I
to
will
do
shut
it.
my mouth.
I want to do it. And you know what? If I ever get the money, I'm gonna get me because I love Apple products. But I'm gonna get me the Apple Mac so I can do balloons and hearts. I wonder if I can do that with my iPad.
You
I'm gonna
maybe we
find
can
out after
find
we get
out.
off. Huh?
And let's go to the lifeboat, and just if y'all are not a part of that, it's an amazing group of people.
It is
It's
because
how
that's
I
where
found
we
a
all met
lot of the
each other.
people.
Me and Mary don't mean to talk over each other. We did it all day yesterday too. We could just want to talk. But I always had on my report card, Kelly talks too much. I
And
did.
Mimi, you had never have to be sorry. This is, listen, trauma is trauma, y'all. It's not fun to talk about. It's
No,
a mess.
but it's
But
good to talk about it.
it's good to talk about it.
Yes,
It's
it
hard
is.
for me to tell my story. I'm doing it in a way that still respects the privacy that I think my daughter is owed, and to some
Right.
degree, the privacy that I think he is owed. But I still am going to shine a light on it. I have to shine a light on it because I never want anybody to go through that again.
Right,
Um, I
exactly.
was on, I did tell people what I was doing on some channels, and they of course, and they should put the disclaimer and the trigger warning, and there needs to be, because this is a heavy discussion. But
Yeah.
people coming in are go, oh, she crochets and she's going to show people how to do it and do tutorials. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to do that. I'll send you benches of places to do that, but that's not why I did it. But I want to talk about it, and I do talk about it, because it's something that is just something I enjoy and I love. I've got several blankets, and if you're part of the lifeboat group, you've got to clue into this connection project we're doing. We got to fill up Rosie, which is my box over here. Her name is Rosie. There's a cow on it. There's a whole story behind it. But we're getting postcards for Tommy. We're doing a book of pictures and a connection thing. We'll be doing something. Her and I'll be taking a picture. And we're doing some stuff that we're going to do something to present to Tommy just for everything that he's doing. So if you want to send a postcard to Tommy Spanks or Cedar, in the description is my P.O. box that I opened for that. But we're just, I'm just so grateful that there's a channel to sit here and say, let's have some fun, but let's talk about the stuff that's not so pretty.
And if you can't find a postcard like a few of us, you can just send a card. You can go to Dollar Tree and get them. Just anything.
I will accept cards, but
just anything, because it's just showing we love Tommy. He's done a lot. I'm so glad I joined the chat. But
realize
glad.
if it's a card, I'm going to open it, because I have a responsibility to make sure everything that goes to him is nothing but
why I did
positive. And I'm not trying to invade anybody's privacy, but if it's negative, it's going right in the trash.
I knew you would. I figured you would. No, that's why I didn't lick it like you notice I put the tab down in. I know I ain't dumb. I can call it.
But you know what? It's really neat for me to see all the wonderful messages coming. And she also sent a card that she made a card for me too. It was like, I have a special place for her card for me. But
I did. I tried to pick Mary out something funny.
If you go into Facebook and you look up Connection Project 4, the number 4, TLB, you'll find it where we can kind of talk about the project. So that if Tommy's listening, just know it's nothing but good. It's nothing but good. But so that we can do, so that we can talk about the things. And there's also the Lifeboat Facebook group. There's the Discord. And I will forever lift up that channel, because
and it brought all
I was
us
going
together.
Through a time in my life in December is where I found the Lifeboat before, but I found the Lifeboat in action in December, and it has forever changed my life since then. And I will always lift up that, because I've met the most amazing people, and a lot of them are sitting in this chat tonight.
And I love them all, each and every one of them.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh dear, my iPad's down to 5%.
So I hope that you all have enjoyed it. I hope it can be something tonight where you are saying to yourself, I need to be more aware of the fact that what the signs are of this, so that I can be looking for the signs in people that I love or friends, that they may not be able to reach out for help, or they may not realize what's happening, so that you may be able to get the resources to help them. Right. So I appreciate everybody that came on tonight. And we will do this again. I'm sure we have plenty of subjects to talk about, and we probably will just come on and chit chat and have fun too.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to do on mine first.
Yeah.
'Cause
And when you
I
need me
want
to
to
come
talk
on, you
about. I
just
got a
call. I'll
lot of
come on your
stuff I
channel
want
and
to
be
talk
right there, and you'll do just fine.
Yeah, I got a lot of different stuff I want to talk about. A bunch.
Well, like I
Oh,
said, we spent 2 hours yesterday.
same to you, Rhonda. I know, and it only seemed like a minute, didn't it?
Yeah,
I
it was
couldn't
like my
believe
husband's.
when we hung up the phone, it'd been like 2 hours. It didn't
And
seem but like a second, really. And
the
it's
thing
like
about it,
talking to somebody I've known my whole life.
it felt like that.
Yeah, it did. It was no different than me talking to Renee last night. You know, we've been friends since we was like 1 or 2. We've known each other, and then we've been close friends since middle school, and very close. Man, she was my support through prison. That's my rock right there.
Yeah.
Renee's my rock. But we'll do a show on something about that sometime. We'll
But it
talk.
was funny because my
But
husband was like, "I'm getting hungry," and I thought, "Well, I've got to get off here because
I
I got to go
know
get
you
some
told
something
me,
to
and we
eat."
kept
He
talking.
was actually taking me out for a meal. He was sitting there
Oh,
waiting
really? How
to
sweet.
surprise me and not tell me. And he was like, "I thought you were never going to get on the phone." He said,
Oh, tell
He
Josh.
said, "You were having so much fun. I didn't want to stop you."
Oh, oh, Josh.
So I
Where
thought that
y'all
was
go
really
eat?
sweet. So we went out and had Mexican yesterday
No,
afterwards, and
I
then we
love
went out shopping
Mexican.
afterwards for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and no, I didn't pick up any yarn.
Oh my God, I can't wait till I get my check Friday. I, I can't wait. I got plans.
So everybody, have a good night. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming and supporting us tonight, and just being here and being part of the discussion. I think probably if I can find it, I think one of the things was, that there was see the signs, and there are signs there that are not good, then run. I think that's the one, and ask for help.
Yeah, this video is
Be
more about
prepared to
awareness
ask for help.
of it, what to look for. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure we can go in a lot deeper, and I'm sure we will soon, because we've got to shed a light on it, just like we need to shed a light on Scientology and the abuse there. And
Exactly.
and all the other things, child abuse, all of it, elder abuse. You bring
And there's more
awareness. You bring
channels.
awareness to one, you shed light on them all.
Amen.
And you
And
sure do.
there was something I said, I think it was yesterday. Was it the other day? And I said, I'm seeing more crochet channels too, doing this kind of thing where they're talking
Really?
and they're crocheting. And I'm like, I think this is awesome,
Hey, the
because
other night on TikTok, I was scanning and I went through a live, and it was like 6 women, and they were all talking and crocheting. And I was looking to see if you were in there. I was like,
they're all having fun and they're all crocheting. And I'm thinking, this is just awesome to see happening.
that's
And
cool. Married you TikTok. You know, they throw you money
no, I
on that.
don't do the TikTok. I do
Oh,
the
okay.
Facebook and the.
I was gonna say you can get on TikTok Live and do that, and people throw you money for it.
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
focusing on the YouTube and the
on the
Facebook.
YouTube.
I
I
have
know.
my live schedule. I have my mod schedule. I have my crochet schedule.
I'm glad
I'm
you
done.
can schedule, because I'm so scattered.
Oh,
I am. I'm scattered. I used to be so organized, but that's another thing I've wondered about my head injuries through the years. I'm not, and I can't get there. I'm not organized at all, and I can't get it there.
I have a
I
schedule,
struggle
but
to get through to make it.
I have a schedule, but I use a pencil because, like, today I had things on it, and it's like, nope, got to move them to tomorrow. So
Yeah.
nothing is put in pen very much, because as a fibromyalgia patient, then I know I've got to. There's sometimes I have to move, and when I did the clip for this, for the short, to tell people about this, I picked the song, unbeknownst to me, that was called "I Will Survive," and I used to play that song in the car,
Yeah.
with tears rolling down my face, just crying by myself. And I said to
Gloria
Kelly, I said, I
Gaynor.
chose that song, and she said that was my fight song too.
Yeah, it
So
was
her
one
and
of my.
I aren't victims anymore; we're survivors. And
Yeah,
dang
that
on it,
there's a few
we've
really
done pretty good.
metal songs that I
We've
listen
gone
to.
through a lot, but we came out the other
Yeah.
side pretty good.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
And we've come out the other side with friends. That's even more important.
Yes, I feel for the first time in my life, I actually really have people that truly care about me, and I ain't never met them before in real life. But I've talked to a few on the phone, and there's several I ain't talked to yet, but I will, you know. But and I might not ever see you in real life, but it's so good to know that we got each other's back. Because I promise you, I'm the type of person, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to die trying. And if there's
And
any
yes,
way I can help anybody, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
I'm just that way. I'll send, Domino's pizza to your house if I got money and you're hungry. I'm that type of person. You know, it just needs to be at the first of the month. I'm just saying. But I I just I I just
You've
want
got a very
people to.
sweetheart, Kelly, and we all love
Oh,
you.
thank you. I just want to spread it. I
Yeah.
just want to spread kindness and change the world.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm a proud hooker when it comes to the crochet.
I saw that. I knew what that meant. I'm not a hooker.
Yeah.
If I was a hooker, it'd be the other kind.
So you're loved.
Oh,
If
I
you
love you
can't see,
too,
you're
Nick.
loved.
And Nick's somebody I've spent time with on the phone. And I
So
really love her.
yeah, well, we love everybody from the lifeboat and
Oh,
everybody that
God,
came tonight and
yes.
support. This was awesome. And I've been trying
Yes,
to
it
really
was.
kind of save my StreamYard for when I have guests so that I can you know, use this platform for that. Eventually I'll get there. Thank you for all your supports. Please subscribe to me. Subscribe to Kelly. Her description is in the channel below. The number for the National Violence and Abuse Hotline is down below, as well as the number and the website. So please, if you're experiencing domestic violence, please reach out and get
Yes.
some help. Don't stand for it, but please do it safely in a way that's not going to put your life in danger or anybody else's life in danger.
Exactly.
And don't stand for it. The moment it happens, they're not worth it. They're not going to change. They're going to come back and tell you they love you and they're sorry and they'll never do it again. And they are until they get help themselves, and they have to be ready to get it.
Exactly.
So if that's our message to anybody, and we are here to talk with anybody that, needs some encouragement or anything like that, we'll be glad to do it.
Yeah.
We'll have more of these
ideas
discussions.
to get out and hide money. They
Yeah.
can teach you how to hide money. They'll never know you got.
Yeah. We'll have more discussions. They won't always be pretty, but if they can help somebody and they can be informative, then that, to me, that's all worth it. Everybody have a blessed night.
Yeah, I love y'all. I love y'all. Really do. Miss Dragon, I
We
love
do
you.
too. Trying to
So
see
she
if
knows. She's
I'm
telling
learning.
me.
I'm learning everything. Like I didn't even do my intro correct. Because I'm like, I'm learning. Everybody,
well, bye,
thank
y'all.
you so
I
much
love
for
all
coming.
y'all. See
Stay
y'all
on for a
boat.
moment. Stay in the studio when I end this. Love y'all, everybody. Have a good night. God bless. And stay connected.
That's right.